startup begins by showing two young men named Tak-il and Song-pil, where Tak-il, a blonde-haired boy, has just bought a used motorbike online. However, the conditions turned out to be not as expected, and the motor finally broke down. When trying to restart the engine, they were suddenly confronted by the thugs who kicked and broke their motorcycle's rearview mirror. Tak-il is annoyed and then tries to chase the thugs and rides recklessly so that they become the target of the police who are on patrol. Due to a problem with his motorbike, Tak-il can't even ride his motorbike properly, so he crashes into something and ends up falling. Tak-il and Song-pil are immediately taken to the police station, where Tak-il's mother then comes to them and scolds Tak-il for buying a motorbike with his school fees. Tak-il then reveals to his mother that he wants to quit school because he doesn't think his mother will be able to afford his tuition. Hearing this, his mother, who is a former professional volleyball athlete, then slapped Tak-il in the face because he had made her very angry and hurt her heart by saying that. The next day, Tak-il, who doesn't care about his future and doesn't want to live the life his mother wanted him to, decides to run away from home. Without a goal and only with $10 in his pocket, he then boarded a bus that took him somewhere. On the other hand, his mother, who works hard to provide for their daily needs, tries to find Tak-il's whereabouts by calling him, but he didn't answer his phone either. Although she is very hard on Tak-il, but she hopes that Tak-il can live a better life than her. That's why she works hard to pay for Tak-il's schooling to college. But it seems Tak-il doesn't understand his mother's wishes and instead leaves her. Meanwhile, Tak-il turns out to be on a bus that leads to a small town called Gunsan in North Jeolla province. After getting off the bus, Tak-il accidentally met a red-haired girl named Yoon-jo, who then punched him in the stomach because he made her angry. After walking the streets around there, Tak-il, who was tired and hungry, saw a noodle shop that offered a bowl of noodle dishes that was quite cheap. He immediately rushed there and met the man who owned the restaurant named Gong. Just as Tak-il is about to eat a bowl of noodles for $3, a food delivery courier enters the shop and heads to the kitchen. However, there is a bit of commotion in the kitchen, and Tak-il sees the courier and rushes away. Tak-il seems curious about what happened there but doesn't dare to ask. After that, he decides to spend the night at a public bathhouse and contemplates his next move. Elsewhere, Song-pil is seen living with his grandmother, where she makes a living by shelling nuts. The next day, when Tak-il returns to the noodle shop to eat, he finds that they need a food delivery courier. Without thinking, Tak-il immediately applied for the job. Gong then tells Tak-il that he must work for at least 3 months before requesting a day off or time off to return home. Tak-il immediately agreed. Tak-il is then introduced to a food delivery courier named Gu-man, who seems a little careless and drops the change he was carrying. The scene then switches and shows Song-pil meeting a man named Dong-hwa, who offers him a job. However, Dong-hwa is reluctant to reveal the type of work and is about to reveal it to Song-pil when he has a job interview. Turning back to Tak-il, the blonde-haired youth was apparently very curious about the noodle shop cook after the incident he saw yesterday. Tak-il then goes to the kitchen to meet Go-suk, a muscular man with a very intimidating expression and gaze. Due to Tak-il's impolite attitude towards older people and his words that irritated Go-suk, he was immediately beaten by Go-suk until he collapsed unconscious. Due to the incident, Tak-il faints into the night and is very surprised to learn that Go-suk is next to him and sleeps with his eyes wide open. Tak-il turns out to be in a mess provided for the employees at the noodle shop. The next day, Tak-il starts his first day working as a food delivery courier. Due to his nosy and outspoken nature, Tak-il often irritates Go-suk, especially when he makes fun of his big body. Elsewhere, Song-pil turns out to be working for Dong-hwa as a loan shark as well as a debt collector. Meanwhile, Tak-il seems to be getting along with his co-workers, even though he often argues with Go-suk over trivial matters. Go-suk and Tak-il then made a bet, where Tak-il ended up falling unconscious after Go-suk punched him with one punch. Meanwhile, Song-pil, who is distributing business cards at the loan office where he works, accidentally sees Tak-il's mother on the side of the road, and she seems to be in trouble. After that, Tak-il is seen delivering food to someone who turns out to be Yoon-jo, the red-haired girl who met him at the bus terminal. Because Tak-il is always rude, even to a woman, Yoon-jo then hits him. Her anger peaked when Tak-il accidentally touched her breast, so Yoon-jo immediately beat him. When Tak-il comes home battered, Go-suk can't help but mock him all the way. Shortly after, Tak-il's cell phone rings, signaling an incoming video call. But because Tak-il was cleaning himself, Go-suk answered the call. It turns out that the caller is Song-pil, and he looks surprised when Go-suk answers the phone. Tak-il saw this, then grabbed his cell phone. Song-pil apparently wants to tell Tak-il about his mother, who seems to be having a hard time. However, Tak-il doesn't seem to care and instead hangs up straight away. While having a meal together, Tak-il accidentally tells his co-workers that he has been beaten by a girl. Hearing this, Go-suk mocked him even more until he burst out laughing. Elsewhere, Yoon-jo, who has just arrived at her hotel room, is surprised by the presence of two foreign men chatting with her roommates. Yoon-jo and the two men then get into a fight, but Yoon-jo was beaten badly by them, so she ran away. Meanwhile, Tak-il and his co-workers relaxing on the rooftop saw Yoon-jo running towards them. Tak-il, who wanted revenge, then jumped down and stopped her. But as it turns out, Yoon-jo is in trouble because the two men are after her and are about to beat her. Tak-il doesn't stay silent and rushes to help Yoon-jo, even though he gets beaten up in the end. Because the fight sparked a commotion, the residents there immediately came out of their homes, so the two men finally decided to run away from there. Tak-il then takes Yoon-jo to a diner to have her injuries treated immediately. After that, Yoon-jo thanked them and said goodbye. Seeing Yoon-jo barefoot, Tak-il then lends his shoes to her. Tak-il seems to be getting used to his job of delivering food and working diligently. One day, Tak-il returns to deliver food for Yoon-jo, who then returns his shoes. However, Tak-il refuses Yoon-jo, who wants to pay for the meal. That evening, Tak-il finally gets his first paycheck and plans to treat them all. Gong then suggests Tak-il come home from time to time and visit his mother. Because Tak-il ignored Gong's advice, Go-suk slapped him in the face and advised him harshly. This apparently managed to make Tak-il realize, and he finally decided to visit his mother. However, upon arriving home, Tak-il finds a note and finds out that his mother is currently at work. Tak-il then meets Song-pil, where they then tell each other's lives after not seeing each other for a long time. Tak-il suggests that Song-pil quit his job as a loan shark and debt collector out of concern for his safety. But Song-pil doesn't seem to care about Tak-il's words. After that, Tak-il then visited his mother, who now owns a simple bakery which he bought at a low price. He then tells his mother that now he works at a noodle shop in Gunsan City. However, his mother scolded him because he worked hard to pay for Tak-il's school and told him to go home and continue his studies. Tak-il went against his mother's wishes and left after giving his mother his first salary. After Tak-il leaves, a man comes to see his mother and warns that the bakery will soon be demolished because Tak-il's mother apparently bought the building illegally built by the previous owner. A few days later, Song-pil is asked to collect a debt from a mail shop owner. However, he was beaten so badly that he had to undergo treatment at the hospital. Elsewhere, Tak-il has to experience an incident that causes him to fall on the road when a car accidentally nudges the motorbike he is riding on, causing it to fall. The car driver turns out to be one of the men who beat Yoon-jo. Shortly afterward, Yoon-jo is finally accepted to work at a noodle shop as a waitress, where Gong offers her to occupy her late daughter's room after finding out that Yoon-jo doesn't have a place to live. To welcome Yoon-jo's arrival as a new employee, they then go to a karaoke place to have some fun. On his return from there, Tak-il meets the man who had harmed him on the street and immediately demands revenge. However, Tak-il can be easily knocked down by the man, so Go-suk then intervenes by smearing the man's face with chips. Elsewhere, Song-pil, who has been discharged from the hospital, tries to take revenge on the man who beat him. However, he seems hesitant and realizes that his actions were wrong. Not long after, the man who harmed Tak-il comes to the restaurant with a group of thugs, where they then wreak havoc there until the ashes of Gong's daughter's late cremation are scattered everywhere. Go-suk was finally unable to contain his anger and immediately beat the thugs to a pulp. Tak-il and his co-workers find out that Go-suk used to be a gangster boss who was highly respected in the area, even by the police. At that time, Go-suk, who was injured after a fight with his rival Gangster, accidentally met Gong, who was about to end his life in frustration after his daughter's death. Go-suk then saves Gong and asks him not to give up hope and continue to live. Since then, Go-suk decides to start a new life as a cook at Gong's diner, and leaves his life as a gangster. After the chaos, that night, Gong's diner is suddenly filled with gangsters who turn out to be Go-suk's men. A man named Tae-soon then asks Go-suk to return to being a gangster boss because their rival gangs often create chaos in their territory. Realizing that his existence might endanger Gong and the others, Go-suk finally decides to leave and return to his old life as a gangster boss. Gong seems to understand Go-suk's decision and asks him to come back anytime because he will always be welcome there. Tak-il seems devastated by Go-suk's departure because it turns out that he has considered Go-suk as his own family, even though they always fight and Go-suk often mocks and beats him. Elsewhere, Song-pil sees that Tak-il's mother's bakery has been sealed and immediately alerts Tak-il over the phone. The next day, Tak-il immediately visits his mother, accompanied by Yoon-jo. His mother then revealed that it turned out that she had been tricked by the previous building owner who bought the land illegally. Tak-il, who seems frustrated with his mother's problems, then calls Go-suk for help. However, Go-suk instead asks Tak-il to grow up and solve his own problems. Meanwhile, Go-suk turns out to be visiting a rival gangster's headquarters, where he then asks them to stop causing chaos and respect each other's territory. However, because they refused the offer of peace, Go-suk was forced to beat them all and managed to overthrow the gangsters alone. Elsewhere, debt collectors go to Tak-il's mother to collect payment for the bakery. Tak-il and Song-pil try to stop them, but because the debt collectors are from the same office as Song-pil, Tak-il then misunderstands and thinks that Song-pil has trapped his mother. However, his mother tells him she didn't borrow money from Song-pil. One of the debt collectors finds an envelope of salary money that Tak-il gave to her mother, and then gives it to his boss. Tak-il's mother tries to politely ask for the envelope, but the boss refuses to give it. Tak-il tries desperately to grab the envelope even though he must be beaten to a pulp. Unwilling to see her son beaten and her son's first salary taken away, Tak-il's mother then got up and put out her skills as a professional volleyball player to beat the debt collectors and managed to retrieve Tak-il's salary envelope. Meanwhile, Go-suk asks Tae-soon to take him to a restaurant, where he then borrows kitchen utensils to cook his own food. After that, Go-suk tells Tae-soon that cooking and being a chef in a restaurant is his new life, and from now on, he will completely leave his old life as a gangster boss. Tae-soon finally understands that and respects Go-suk's decision. After the incident, Tak-il reunites with his mother, and they decide to stay at Song-pil's house for a while because their house has been confiscated to pay off debts. Meanwhile, Tak-il's mother's bakery is still being torn down. Even so, Tak-il's mother is relieved and happy that her son is back home and is now feeling better. So is Song-pil. After that incident, Dong-hoo also decides to quit his moneylender and debt collector job and opens a simple fried chicken shop. On the other hand, Go-suk decides to return to being a chef at Gong's diner. Meanwhile, Yoon-jo finally returns to school after officially becoming Gong's adoptive daughter. The film ends with Tak-il taking his mother for a ride on a used motorbike he bought. The moral that can be learned from this movie is that a mother's love will not be timeless and will not fade in the slightest, even though the child often hurts her heart. At the end of the day, a home is where we get the attention and affection of people who truly love us unconditionally, like our mothers.